Good morning, everyone. This morning, with the sound of our Peace Bowl, we open our service at Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation with our shared hope of peace on this earth. This morning, we ring our bell for happy forests covered in a layer of snow. A week ago, I met with 6 veterans, Frank Beeson, Mavis Brauer, Fred Forte, Hugh Meier, Cal Nigh, and Dan Riordan, to talk about their experience and what they thought about the flag and about patriotism. They will share wisdom today from their time in military service, their challenges, and what they learned of camaraderie, that work that is at the core of building community. We are honored to have them with us. 6 individuals who took that leap into service of this country. Here are the introductions of 3.
Grew up, raised our family in Indiana. But back in 1962, I dropped out of college and not knowing what to do, and they were drafting young men. So I joined the Army. And at that point in life, pretty much in denial about risk in life, had volunteered for the airborne. And so I was a paratrooper for 2.5 years. It was a great experience. I met Barb just before going in, and we got married in Germany, where I was stationed the whole time. At the point that I was getting out, they were pulling them out of my unit and sending to Vietnam. So Vietnam was just gearing up when I got out in 1965. So I was very, very lucky to get out and get back to going to school.
Hi, I'm Frank Beeson. I grew up in Ohio, a little town. Didn't really think much about military or anything. Was drafted, I was already married in 67. I was drafted the end of 1967, went into basic training in 68. Went through my basic at Fort Knox, and then I ended up taking what they call re-up. I took another year of service in order to get some training in electronics. And everybody else in my unit at basic training that didn't re-up, didn't get, they were sent to Forte, Texas for Vietnamese language training. So they knew right away pretty much where they were going. So I went to Fort Gordon for my training. And then a year later, I ended up going also to Vietnam, where I ran into a couple guys that I had known in basic training, and they were ready to get out, and I was just starting. So I spent my year in Vietnam, and then I came back also to Fort Hood, Texas. So I got out in 1971.
I was born in New York City. Then I moved to Long Island, to a very small town. And after high school, well, I got out in June when my father died in November, and money was tight. So I got a job. I worked for an outfit called Airborne Instruments. And while I was there, I met a guy who probably had the job I had before I worked there. He went into the Army then. And I was talking with him. I didn't know him from before. And he said, why don't you volunteer for the draft? Get the GI Bill. I was stationed, by the way, at Fort Carson, Colorado, most of my time. And, I was very fortunate. The Korean War ended just shortly after I went in. And the experience was really a good experience. I mean, it's an unusual experience being in the military, but I was very fortunate. I feel bad for these poor guys who get up to places like Vietnam and places like that. It's awful. But it worked out well for me.
Good morning. The journey is beginning with our veterans. I'm so grateful to them for gathering with me a week ago. I am Reverend Patty Willis, and I am proudly serving Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation during these unprecedented, may I say crazy times. This morning, we are once again shaking up our order of service so that we can better dive into our service and hear these stories. If you are new to us, you can find out about all that is going on at our website, prescottuu.org. You can email me. A link is found on our website. And if you have children, we would love to welcome them. You can contact Bev Bostrom, our Faith Development Coordinator, who is creatively making these wonderful classes that our children are engaged in online. It is good to be together as pilgrims depend on their maps and the signs along the road. We have our mission statement created through a lot of wordsmithing. And in these times when so much is different, let us listen to these words and think, how can they guide us in these times? This is our mission statement. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Today, we thank Heather Knowles for her beautiful video work that you have just begun to see, and her technical and artistic direction, Mary Lou Prince for music direction, and especially today, our veterans, Dan Riordan, Cal Nigh, Hugh Meier, Fred Forte, Mavis Brauer, and Frank Beeson, for their generosity in sharing their experiences with us today. At the end of our time, if you stay in the main session and don't go into a breakout room, you will have a chance to talk with them. In the tradition of Unitarian Universalism, we will light our chalice this morning, a symbol of our faith, a symbol that was born out of a time of war and justice seeking. This morning, we light our chalice for those who make that choice to serve their country, not knowing what is ahead. We light it for those whose lives were taken and whose families were forever changed. We light the chalice for all who died or were injured by war, all those who are now refugees searching for a new home. We light our chalice for the healing of all whose lives were touched by war. For our opening words, we're going to continue with our introductions of two more veterans.
My name is Mavis Brauer, and I grew up in central Illinois. Graduated from high school in 1968, went to college. I was the most undisciplined person I've ever known at that age. So I graduated in 72, and of course, who wants to hire somebody that likes to play and got a B- average as an undergrad? So I moved to Phoenix because I wanted to play some more and realized my life was going no place. And so I enlisted. I tried to get a commission in the Army and they turned me down. So I thought, well, I'm going to enlist, but I'm going to enlist in the Air Force. I got to electronics tech school at Keesler Air Force Base after basic training, and I loved it. And I spent 3 years as a technician. I got accepted into a commissioning program. They sent me to get my bachelor's degree at New Mexico State. I got out of there, went through OTS, and became an officer. And from there, I think I was so fortunate with the assignments I had. Worked on space-based lasers, got a master's degree, and got accepted to teach at the Air Force Academy. So I taught there a couple of years, and they sent people off for their PhD. And so they sent me to the University of Illinois for 3 years to do my graduate work. I came back, taught several more years at the Academy, did a couple years of research and development, and retired in 1995.
I'm Fred Forte. I went to Rensselaer Polytechnic on a Navy ROTC scholarship, ROTC, which was a full scholarship plus pay, Navy Reserve. So that was coming from a family that needed, my father worked 2 or 3 jobs when I was growing up. And so getting that scholarship was a big deal. And what it involved, I studied mechanical engineering. What it involved was then paying back your scholarship as an officer in the United States Navy for 4 years. The other thing that came up was the option to go to some special service. And after I had seen submarine operations, I decided that's what I wanted to do. The place was full of volunteers. That's how you did it in submarines. Everybody was a volunteer. There was nobody dragged into it. Went to sea on the USS Clamagore, a World War II submarine that was built in 1945. But it was a great experience. I was on that boat for 4 years. After that, I was assigned to the Navy Officer Submarine School to teach tactics. And I did that for a year. That was pretty rewarding too. I didn't know I could teach.
Thank you. Thank you. For our opening song, we have chosen one that is fraught with memory and pain, interwoven with the many stories of this nation, the Star-Spangled Banner, that song that is so hard for normal people to even sing. A week and a half ago at the inauguration, I wondered if, like the flag, we could reclaim this song, for the way the song was sung seemed to be reframing it, opening it up to more of us living in this country. I invite you back into that moment of rebirth. Let us sing our national anthem anew with Lady Gaga. Or if you prefer, sit this one out and just watch. Wow. Let us now say our covenant together. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. And now we have the great pleasure to hear from other members of our congregation, the family that contains our youngest member, Clara Rose, and her brother, Julian. Listen to them and their parents, Deanne Resk and Paul Bonnell.
Hello, my name is Paul Bonnell.
And my name is Deanne Resk. We have been members of the Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist congregation since moving to Prescott in the fall of 2010.
This is my first UU congregation.
And I was a member of All Souls in downtown Washington, D.C. as a college student and attended a UU congregation in Santa Monica while in graduate school at UCLA.
Granite Peak has played a very important role in our lives since moving to Arizona a decade ago. There are so many reasons that come to mind why Granite Peak is important to us and why we want to support its stewardship campaign.
For one, a Granite Peak minister married us. We celebrated our marriage with the congregation in the fellowship hall. Later, another Granite Peak minister performed the mother's blessing and baby dedication for us in the sanctuary. We celebrated the birth of our son with the congregation and hope to do the same for our baby daughter someday after the pandemic.
Together over the years, we've participated in adult faith development classes, worship services, drum circles, chalice circles, and even led a younger adult group for a while. We've also participated in multiple social justice and volunteer projects such as Empty Bowls, Plazas Comunitarias, UU Jazz Day at the Legislature,
a UU College of Social Justice and Border Links program to Nogales, Mexico, attended the UU General Assembly in Phoenix and demonstrated in a peaceful protest there. And we've walked side by side with fellow congregants in local marches, just to name a few. Granite Peak nurtures our spirits and gives us an outlet to live out our values, serve our community, and to be in community with like-minded people. Now, as parents of young kids, we participate in the children's religious education and nursery programs. We are excited to raise our children in the UU tradition and appreciate that Granite Peak is committed to helping develop and instill UU principles in the lives of our young people and future generations.
When troubled waters seem to be all around, Granite Peak has been our beacon, our refuge, and our springboard into action time and time again.
We kindly ask members and friends of Granite Peak to join our family by supporting the annual stewardship campaign so that Granite Peak can continue its incredible work of being a beacon of light, love, and justice in this community and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanne, Paul, and Clara Rose, and Julian. I can't wait for that baby dedication. That's going to be wonderful. Thank you. And as they said, we're beginning our stewardship campaign, and you will be hearing from different members each week. This is a wonderful way for us to get to know each other better during these unprecedented times. And now I invite you again into listening to this bell. Let us breathe together. Let us feel our feet on this earth that is, I feel it's breathing a great sigh of relief as the moisture from snow, which is the best kind of moisture, is just making its way gradually down into the earth where the roots are in such need of moisture. With our whole bodies, let us give thanks for this snow. Even though it has made life more difficult, we are grateful for this snow. Each week we gather together, and in this time we remember especially the joys and sorrows that each of us hold in our hearts and that we hold as a community. There are, at this time, we especially hold Dick Fox, Eunice Lovejoy, Janer Eldridge, and Karen Anderson, and Eric Jarnigan, who is still recovering. We have also just heard that Karen Doyle's husband is now in hospice care in Phoenix, and she has gone there to be with him. Please consider calling her if you are a good friend. And we have heard that a member of our congregation who is a teacher has lost a former student to suicide. As a former teacher who lost a student, this is one of the most difficult things that can happen to a teacher. Let us hold all of these concerns in the arms of our community. Let us hold this county, this nation, this world, all those who are mourning loved ones who have died or are dying from COVID-19, and all of those other ways that we die. Let us hold all of the immigrant families who are in need of food and help with their rent. May they find their ways to our doors. I will ring the bell again and invite you into a time of silence, but let's begin that time by saying the names of all those who are on our hearts and minds. Please join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we give thanks for the snow that is nourishing this earth. We ask for comfort for all those who are suffering, all those who are experiencing this pandemic, all those who must go to work because their work is needed in this time, and who go to work with fear of bringing back this terrible disease to their families. We ask for blessings on all of the doctors and nurses who are working so hard to make people well. Please bless them in their times of great discouragement. We also ask blessings on all essential workers, the farm workers, the people in grocery stores, those who we ask especially to, for those who are in prisons and juvenile detention centers, for those are places of higher degree of infection. We ask especially on this Sunday for blessings on all those who went to war and came back with injuries, either psychological or physical or both. We ask for blessings on them. We ask to know what we can do to reach out to the veterans who live near our building. We also hold this space for the refugees of wars who are living in temporary housing in many places in the world. Let us give thanks to the countries that receive them, and let us pray that in the coming months that we will be able to open our own borders and welcome those who are seeking safety. For all these things we pray in your many names. Amen. And now I invite you to sing with me, Walking, Walking with You. And now we go into our offertory time. This is the 5th week of January, which gives us an opportunity to give to a special recipient in recognition that the effects of the pandemic are far from over, and in consultation with board leadership, the Minister's Benevolence Fund has been chosen. This fund is used to uplift people in our community and the greater community in times of difficulty. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. You can find the PayPal link to giving in the chat. And when you give, please specify if it's for our seeds of support or for your pledge. What is given in love is received in gratitude. In our conversation with our veterans, we talked about the Vietnam War and how that changed the lives of those who served, but also changed our whole nation. Let us listen to a song that expresses that time. From the song, we will go straight into listening to the voice of a veteran who served in that war. We've got to get out of this place. Please listen.
Born in Germany. My dad was in the occupation army, in the Navy during World War II. And at the end, got out and got back in. They were recommissioning people and building up for Korea. And they gave him a first lieutenant's commission in the Army for his Navy grade. And he was sent to Germany at that time in the occupation army. I left home when I was 16 and I never returned. I got my high school diploma going to night school through the University of Nebraska Extension Division because I knew I didn't want a GED. And I was just kind of hacking around, just hanging out. And I went to northern Arkansas, to Bentonville, Arkansas. Got me a job working on the golf course and like that. And so I was just a young rowdy hanging out with the locals. It was a dry county. So naturally, as you go over the line, I lived right up by the state line. And you drive into Missouri, and he's in Missouri. And the sign would say, "Welcome to Harold's First Chance Liquor." And on your way back, the sign would say, "You just passed Harold's Last Chance Liquor." So naturally, friends would call us up and say, "Hey, Dan, you gotta bring me down a case of beer, bring me something here when you come to town." Okay, yeah, So I wasn't, running liquor. So the cut to chase is that basically the local cops busted me. And a bunch of trumped up charges and this, that, and the other. And basically, you're just a non-local boy hanging out and partying, running around with the local girls, and we don't like you here kind of deal. And again, the cut to chase was that I got out of jail to enlist in the Army in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I filled the draft quota, helped to fill the draft quota for Benton County. I think they had a quota of 7, and I was one of the lucky 7 that took some of the pressure off the local boys in the county. That's how we do things in America, So when I went in, they tried to talk me into going to OCS, test scores, officer candidate school. I refused. I didn't want anything to do with it. So they sent me to an NCO academy. And I was a 90-day wonder. 90 days, I was an E5. And I was sent to Fort Sill, Oklahoma as an instructor at the Field Artillery School. A year later, I was sent to Vietnam. I arrived in country on my 20th birthday, June 18th, 1970. And I was a South Vietnamese Army, an ARVN artillery advisor, remote fire bases, 812 GIs and 40-50 ARVNs. I was in the Iron Triangle on the Cambodian border most of my tour. And then I was pulled down to the Delta. Medevac to Okinawa. Lied to, cheated, screwed over. It's a long story. By the military. I was disrespected on several occasions when I got home, and equally disrespected by the VA when I went in looking for medical and psychological help. Didn't set foot in a VA hospital for over 25 years. I have a lot of issues and problems with the flag. 18 years old and on, the flag has been, and it has been the most sage and true piece of wisdom in my adult life. Upton Sinclair's famous quote, "When fascism comes to America, it'll be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross." And that has been my experience. And we're as close as we've ever gotten recently. But that has been, I have never flown an American flag on my home.
You know what, Dan? I have never flown a flag on my house either, for the same reason, for what the symbol of the flag has turned into.
It's corrupted. It's been totally corrupted.
I have my flag that I was given at my retirement ceremony. It's in a little triangle box. It's all folded up. It sits on my desk downstairs. I've never flown it.
I've got the flag that flew on my submarine. When I sort of appropriated it when I left. So I may be wanted by the Navy for keeping that flag, but mine is folded up and put away as well.
I have historically identified the right wingers in our neighborhoods and so on because they're the ones with the flag. But then at the same time, as time has gone by, I've gotten a little frustrated because by flying the flag, they're implying that somehow they love or care more for our democracy than others. And I don't like that. I don't think they care more. I think, if anything, they care less, maybe. But they have grabbed the flag and given it an identity of more right-wing extremist thinking, at least as I have seen it. And I have definitely historically resisted becoming a part of that group by flying a flag, because I think it got distorted. But I'm rethinking that, and I may not be with the rest of you on that. I had thought for a while, well, the right wingers have stolen the flag, and I changed my mind. I don't think they stole it. I think we gave it away by not identifying at all with it. Now, and I've decided I'm going to change about that. Now, can you see that?
Yeah, Veterans for Biden.
I had flags flying above it because I really wanted to identify our thinking with America, and at least point out to all our neighbors who could see this real easy, because we are identified as a liberal family in this very right-wing neighborhood, and I'm going to fly the flag and associate it with Biden and or left thinking to at least encourage any other sane thinkers in our area that you're not alone in that. So I have rethought my thinking about the flag, and I'm going to attach a flag to the house.
A lot of Republican signs where I live, and I put up Veterans for Joe, similar to what Cal showed. And I had many compliments from people going by and giving a thumbs up. And one woman came, she said, I left Czechoslovakia, and I come to this country, and it's like being in Czechoslovakia again, you know. So I hate it when I see the flags with pictures of on them. I mean, if you're such a dedicated American, why are you desecrating the flag? You know, that burns me.
Yeah, we need to reclaim our flag. There's, I don't know, about 20 or so. There's more than what I thought. Dates during the year that we're supposed to fly our flag. We all have the 4th of July, Memorial Day, Veterans Day kind of thing. But there's other days like the inauguration day. That's a day that they recommend flying flag. So there's a lot of ways that we can reclaim our flag and not let the right-wing people make it all about them. We need to take it back as part of our country.
It's important to fly the flag, associating it with more liberal
Raise it up.
thinking and more liberal people. And if there isn't that association, then it will just be seen as another right-wing person, a family in the neighborhood. So unless you have an identity as being a liberal in that neighborhood, then it might not be beneficial to fly the flag. It would just be in addition to the extreme right.
I would like to go back to this idea of the word patriot as another word that the previous administration has just dirtied. That just grabs me in the gut. That that isn't what a patriot is.
Words matter.
Just briefly look at the word patriot, defined as a person who vigorously supports their country and is prepared to defend it against enemies or detractors. As I thought about my time in the military and the people I experienced there, I don't really think as a group or individually are any more patriotic than civilians I've known who were not in the military. I noticed when we described our history, none of us said that we went into the military to serve the country.
Right.
We all, I'm speaking for me and maybe some of you, we were at a point in our lives where we're trying to figure out what to do. We're really thinking about, I was thinking about myself and, oh, let's see, what can I do now? And I went in, and it's the kind of thing that now, you know, people say, well, thank you for your service, as though I sacrificed. I did not sacrifice. I have often thought that I should be thanking the people in the country for providing the military for me, because it was a great service to me. It was extremely helpful. I got the GI Bill and many other benefits from it.
You know, Cal, I had such a similar experience. I went in because I didn't know what to do, and I was sort of hitting bottom, you know, in my early 20s. So I went in the military, into the Air Force for self-serving, to basically preserve myself as an individual. But through my time in the service, I developed a sense of patriotism. I developed an appreciation for the military and the role that we played in protecting our country. And that was developed while I was in the military. I didn't go in with that.
You know, I'm a patriot. I went to the military and I did. But I thought about why I was a patriot. And it was out of gratitude for the opportunities I was given. I mean, the opportunity to win that scholarship, that was quite a boost. So the idea of patriotism comes to me out of gratitude, not any oration or any bravado. I'm very thankful for the opportunity that I was given. I get upset when I see somebody else who doesn't seem to appreciate what they've been handed. Like 6,000 to 8,000 damn fools who attacked the Capitol. I may be naive, but the oath I took, that all of us took, doesn't expire. When we said we'd defend the Constitution, that doesn't go away.
At large gatherings in the military, when we were going through all the, you know, the roll flags and the bands and whatnot, I felt proud, you know, to be, I'm part of this. And this past Memorial Day, for the first time in my life that I can remember, I had the feeling, I'm not proud to be an American. And then I had a similar experience after Joe got elected. I felt good.
One of my most enduring legacies of my time in the military was that was the true melting pot. And it forced us to work with people, mix and interact with people beyond our comfort zones. Mm-hmm. You couldn't afford to be intransigent and uncooperative and uncompromising. They forced us to be exposed to other people, other ethnicities, other ideas, other religions. And now the rush to charter schools has got us ghettoizing our public schools. And we're once again segregating our housing, our schooling, everything. They eliminated the draft. A similar thing is taking place in the country where 0.1% carries the burden of military service, and the rest of the country puts a yellow ribbon decal on their Cadillac Escalade and goes shopping.
The idea of being put together with a diverse populace in that submarine. And not only were we from different backgrounds, but we were put together in very close quarters so that a lot of other stuff was at work besides whether the guy was Italian or black or whatever. Because we were back to back, nose to nose. Everything was tight in that boat.
It was a total learning experience and a total eye opener for, you know, a kid from little town in Ohio who, you know, never been out of, you know, much out of Ohio except for, you know, like West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York. That's about the whole experience of my travel prior to being in the military. We didn't go there to win. We went there for posturing or whatever. I went there with high expectations because I believed in my country. When I came back, I was just so disillusioned and so angry, and you know, now it was just it was a sham and a disgrace to this country for all the men and women who lost their lives there trying to do this, to defend democracy when, you know, it wasn't really that.
When I came back from Vietnam, it was 20 years, I think, before I finally went in for counseling. And Sandy had been trying to get me to go in for years, and I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't do it. And finally, one day, another vet friend at work came up and he says, "Hey, Dan, don't take this personally. I hope you don't get upset, but you've been acting awful squirrely lately, man. You consider," and he handed me this pamphlet. And it was one of these, "Do you ever, have you ever?" And I scored a perfect 10 out of 10. And it was for a brand new thing over on Hillside and Miller Valley Road called the Vet Center. And that was when I finally broke down and went into counseling. I had friends here in town who had known us for 20 years. And Sandy, when the word, again, you know, it got out, people were shocked. They'd known me for 20 years and they didn't even know I'd ever been in the service. That's how shut down a lot of us were. That's how ashamed and disgusted and embarrassed many of us were. I'd be sitting there and somebody might even talk about or bring up the topic, or a couple vets might start talking about it, and I just keep quiet. I just sit there. I wouldn't say a word. Nobody knew. That's the reason I don't talk about it, because it used to be the rare times I did talk, I didn't even know it. People would look at me shocked and didn't realize that I was just an endless stream of every third word was a profanity coming out of my mouth. I would just like, people would just look and they go, "Who is this guy?" And that, you know, I couldn't talk about it because I would just get enraged.
Well, Dan, you helped me a lot with this last discussion, because as soon as I reported aboard the Clamagore, there were other commands looking for junior officers to transfer to Vietnam as gunboat captains.
Groundwater Navy, no way to go, man.
Yeah. Anyway, our admiral of the Atlantic Fleet said, "No way. I'm not letting any of my submarine officers go because I just spent a lot of money training them, and I'm not going to put them out there to get blown up." And that was pretty much the case. So I have always had a little bit of guilt for not having participated in that request.
More power
But
to
you just erased it all.
Something that is coming to my mind that I think part of patriotism is truth telling. That I think that we show the greatest love for people, and I imagine for our nation, by telling the truth of our experience.
The thing that I have missed and haven't thought about for a long time is this sense of camaraderie of people who have also served, whether it's different branches, different jobs, whatever. There is something about being in the military and kicking around the stories and the experiences and stuff that to me is truly so dear to my heart.
Thank you. Thank you. These stories, these veterans, their stories are now woven into the tapestry of our community. May we work to reclaim our flag and words like patriot. May we think of new ways to show our love of this country, to grow our love of this country. Here is more wisdom from them.
It seems to me that all of us would probably say that, yes, the military was very profound experience in our lives. And we didn't necessarily join up for patriotic reasons, but we got the benefit of having done it and getting identified as having done something patriotic. And I think, as Mavis pointed out, that over time and being in, maybe we became a little more patriotic because of the experience.
I didn't really feel that I was patriotic, because I was drafted. It wasn't like I volunteered to go in. I was drafted. I took an extra year to get some training that I wanted. It turned out, really great for me. I used the GI Bill for my education. I did, VA for a home loan. I used I used the benefits, but I feel like I earned those, through my 3 years plus a year in Vietnam.
When I enlisted to get into the Air Force, and I was so undisciplined and so ill-defined as a person. And then through the process of first accepting, direction from outside of myself, and then I developed discipline, and then that transferred to an internal sense of discipline and what I needed to do in life and how I needed to take care of myself. So after I retired, after a little more than 20 years, then I thought, okay, I've kind of gone off, in a fairly military sort of way. And I've done a lot of things to kind of erase that, like try to be more artistic and expressive and that sort of thing. And still to this day, when I introduce myself and to a new person and we get to talking and I say, I spent 20 years in the Air Force, they go, I knew that. I still see that. I could tell. So I feel like the process has transformed me in kind of a permanent way, some of which I prefer, some of which I prefer not.
It's like everything in life. It's a blessing and it's a curse.
Mm-hmm.
It works, it cuts both ways, and we can't have one without the other. You can't have the joy without the sorrow.
When I reported on board Clamagore as a nice green ensign with no experience at sea, or really in the Navy, I was assigned to be commissary officer. And I had to find out what that was because it sounded like it involved food, but and it did. And I reported on board and met with the first class cook. His name was O'Doul. And he was a grizzly old guy with hair coming out of his t-shirt. It was almost a caricature. And I told him, I said, look, O'Doul, I'm fresh. I don't know a thing about what we do or what you do, you have to just take me under your arm and teach me. And that was one of the smartest things I ever did when I walked on that ship, because I gained tremendous respect from him and all the other guys, because I admitted I didn't know what the heck I was doing and that I needed to be taught, and I was taught, and I got a lot of support from a lot of people. I felt more welcome by some of those old salts than I thought I would be, and that helped my experience to appreciate all those guys who volunteered for submarines and supported each other. I look back on that service with pride and gratitude, and with pride for the people, the men I served with. They were a great bunch of guys, smart as hell. It was really a good learning experience for me.
And when we're over there, we weren't fighting for America. You're fighting for the guy on either side of you. Come on, that's all it was about. I mean, and in most cases, it's what it devolves to that. But in our case, it was especially that way. So I wouldn't want to do it again, but I wouldn't trade the experience for the world.
I know that all of you join me in having thankful hearts for these experiences that were shared today. We've decided, instead of singing, we're going to have you listen to some jokes that came up during our time. So we're going to close with a little military laughter, and then we'll extinguish our chalice.
He said, "Can you type?" I said, "I took typing in high school." He said, "Well, good." He says, "You'll be interviewed by an officer at Fort Dix. Tell him you can type when he asks you if you have any special skills." He says, "A lot of good deals in the Army if you can type." And that's what I did. And all these guys who had been in artillery and armor and infantry, who the heck do you know, Meier?
It was a great experience. I know we fought for democracy. I don't remember any democracy in the Navy. Oh, and I like to joke about how we took a shower once a week, whether we needed it or not.
Okay, so this Air Force guy and this Navy guy walked into the bathroom, and they were both standing at the urinal, and they get done, and the Air Force guy starts to walk out, and the Navy goes, "Hey, in the Navy, they teach us to wash our hands." The Air Force guy says, "Oh, sorry. In the Air Force, they teach us not to pee on ourselves."
Thank you. Thank you for that. And the wonderful thing is that after we extinguish our chalice, you can continue a conversation with the veterans who participated in this program. So let us say our words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So please just don't go anywhere if you want to keep, if you have some questions for our veterans.